If you're thinking about painting your cabinets and need a drying rack for the doors, but everything you see here on YouTube is either too expensive to buy, takes up too much space, isn't portable, and if you're a painter and want to take it to a job site, it's just too bulky and cumbersome to transport. So look no further. Today I'm going to show you how to make a rack that breaks down easy for storage and transport. Can roll around your painting area, is sturdy, and super easy to make for any DIYer. The materials you'll need include the following: a furniture dolly, and get the big 30-inch by 18-inch one. The smaller 18 by 12 won't be stable enough. 2x4 lumber, you'll need 3 pieces. 6-inch steel corner braces, you want 4 of those. 1/2-inch metal electrical conduit. Now the quantity is going to depend on how many racks you want, but for the configuration I'm going to show you, which holds 32 doors and a bunch of drawer fronts, you'll need 12 of them. 5/16 hex head leg bolts. You'll need 4 at 4.5 inches long and 12 at 3 inches long. You'll also need 16 of the 5/16 inch flat washers and 16 of the hex nuts. 2 hanger bolts, 3/8 by 4 inches. 4 screw hooks, 3/16 by 3 3/8 inches. 2 3/16 inch turnbuckles, and finally a box of number 3 steel double loop chain, 15 feet long. To get started, reinforce the length of the furniture dolly with some pieces of 2x4 lumber. Now you only need a couple screws to hold those in place because they're going to be bolted down shortly. So don't pay attention to me going a little overboard on the screws here. Pre-drill the dolly because that wood is kind of crappy and it will split. You'll need 2 uprights. Now I cut them at 5.5 feet long to accommodate the 16 positions on each side. Once the dolly is reinforced, you can attach the corner braces for the uprights. Now I center the upright and then I mark on the dolly for the 3 bolts in the holes on the brace. Then I drill them out with the 5/16 inch bit and use 3-inch lag bolts to secure the brace, passing them completely through the dolly and the 2x4 reinforcement. Each bolt will get a washer and a nut and tighten down good. Now place your upright against the brace, fully resting on the dolly, and mark the top and bottom holes in the upright. Now I prefer to use a drill press to make sure I get straight level holes all the way through. Now if you don't have a drill press, you can use a handheld drill. Just need to make sure that your holes are straight and level or things are not going to line up. Now I also use a 3/8 inch drill bit for these holes just so I have a little bit of wiggle room for those 5/16 inch bolts. Place the upright against the first brace. Pass the bolts through those level holes that you just drilled and place the second brace on the other side of the upright and bolt it all together with a washer and a nut on each of the through bolts. Now drill your 5/16 inch holes through the dolly for the second brace and secure it with 3 of the 3-inch bolts with washers and nuts on the bottom. Then do the same for the other upright. Once you're finished, this is what it should look like. Now that you have your uprights all dialed in, it's time to drill out the holes for the conduit. Now 1/2-inch metal conduit has an outer diameter of almost 3/4 of an inch. So a 3/4 inch spade bit puts a perfect size hole to slide the conduit in. Now a drill press definitely makes this step a lot easier. By setting up a fence to guide the uprights, you get a hole in the middle of the 2x4 every time. I just made marks every 3.5 inches, which gives just enough space between the conduit to slide the doors in without hitting the fresh paint on one of the other doors with your hands while you do so. 1 down. 1 to go. Finally, I get to cut some conduit. Now each section is 10 feet long, and cutting them at 40 inches lets you get 3 pieces out of each section. And then minus the 3.5 inches for the upright, that'll leave you about 18.25 inches on each side, which is perfect. Now if you don't have a handy dandy portable bandsaw like this, a hacksaw or a grinder works just fine. But if you use a grinder, make sure that you deburr the cut ends. The conduit then slides in the holes, and there's just enough leeway so they slide in fairly easy, but not so much of a gap that they pivot up and down, which could cause them to have a downward slope, resulting in a door sliding off. As Goldilocks would say, not too tight, not too loose, just right. You're going to want to secure the tops of the uprights to keep them spreading out. All right, so now how am I going to keep that up there? Like I said, I have these studs. These are called hanger bolts. So this will drill into this 2x4 here, and then it'll stick up as a post, which will come through some pre-drilled holes I made. Now I can just put a nut on the top. Now before attaching this to the uprights, drill 2 3/4-inch holes about 8 inches apart near the center for some conduit. Now you can place a 2x4 over those bolts and secure each side with a washer and nut. Even though the rack seems stable, and it is, I like to err on the side of caution. So thread a screw hook at the top and bottom of each upright and then run sections of chain in an X pattern using a turnbuckle at one end of each chain. And tighten down the turnbuckles and your rack will be sturdier than you could ever expect. You don't need to tighten those turnbuckles super tight like a guitar string. As you can see, these are not that taut at all. It doesn't take much. Now instead of chain, you can use cable or rope, whatever you like. I just happen to have this chain on hand, so it was just easier for me. Slide 2 pieces of conduit through the top support. Now these are perfect for placing drawer fronts on to dry, since the ones on the uprights will be too far apart. Well, now you have a well-built and solid drying rack that you can roll around as needed. And when it's time to tear it down, all you need to do is slide out each piece of conduit, remove the top support, and then slide out the 4 bolts holding the uprights to the corner braces. And then it's easy to transport or store. So how much does everything that I showed you cost to build this rack? Well, as I showed, just under $200. Now a few years ago, this would have cost about half as much. But since the pandemic, the prices just skyrocketed on everything. I mean, the biggest cost here is the conduit. And a few years ago, conduit was half the price as it is now. So I could have built this thing for like $100 back then. Now, of course, to save some money, you can use 1/2-inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe instead of the metal conduit. But to me, they just flex too much, and you're only saving $2 per piece, so I'd rather spend that extra $24 for the peace of mind that none of the doors are going to come crashing down. Now you can also save some costs if you don't need to hold that many doors. I mean, if you only wanted to say hold 20 doors instead of 32, well, that'll save you about $30. And if you're a true DIYer, you probably have some casters around your garage, left over from an old tool chest or something. And you can make your own rolling base from leftover 2x4s and save the $20 on the dolly. And if you don't need to disassemble it because you're only going to use it in your shop or your garage, well, then you can brace it with some 2x4s or plywood instead of the corner braces. And those things are going to cost you about $30. And if you don't need it to roll around, then a simple 2x4 frame for the base will also save you the cost of the dolly. I just wanted to show for the person that is starting from scratch for a portable rolling rack that can easily be broken down for storage or transport. And since I paint cabinets on site, I need something that I can simply move between my shop and the job site. And still, under $20, under $200 is not bad, especially if painting cabinets is what you do for a living, because you know that a drying rack can easily cost you twice that. And as a complement to this drying rack, if you want to build this super cool rotating painting stand to paint your doors, I'll link that video right up here for you in a moment. But until then, if you found the video helpful, I'd appreciate a tap on that thumbs up like button and subscribing to my channel, if you haven't already done so. And if you have any additions or improvements that I can make to this rack, drop a comment and tell me about them. This is your Uncle Brian saying thank you for watching and good luck with your projects. And I'll see you in one of my other videos. Like that one. Bye now.